Oprah Winfrey said, "The best adventure you can take is to live the life of your dreams." South Korea, with the 51 million populations in the landmass smaller than Mississippi, is one of the richest countries in the world. But in 1960s, it was one of the poorest countries in the world. I cannot imagine what my life would be like at this very moment if I gave up my childhood dreams. Imagine 7-home farming village in the middle of rice paddies, eating scraps which people do not want. We grew rice, but we could not afford to keep. Polio vaccine had not arrived in our small village. I was told kids with crippled legs were cursed by ancestors, and wishing for drinking water was just a stretch of an imagination. I would eat anything that didn't eat me first. To feel hunger, I would catch birds, rats, grasshoppers, throw in the wildfires for Happy Meals. I remember pulling potatoes out of fresh dirt, fresh corn off the husk, just to eat, to survive. And in those days, if you asked me, what do I want to be when I grow up? I would have told you in a heartbeat, I want to be a fat Korean. Because poor people like me, fat Koreans represent rich. They had plenty of white rice to eat. So imagine your success rate is determined by your body weight. Rich people versus poor people equal to fat people versus skinny people. So if any of you are here today on diet, I urge you to stop immediately. Here's why. Why would you want to share your wealth with those skinny people, size 0, who can eat 10 times more than you and never gain an ounce? It doesn't make sense, does it? So please, remember to eat white rice 3 times a day so you can tell all the skinny poor people how rich you are. One of my happiest days during my childhood was my birthdays, because that's the only day I got to eat white steamy rice with a few bites of chicken meat laced in seaweed soup. My mom would catch the slowest chicken, wring its neck, pluck its feathers. She carefully sliced the center of a chicken to find liver and kidney. As soon as she dips those in the rock salt, I was right there with my mouth wide open, like a hungry bird, because those were special treats just for me, for working so hard for her. E. coli should have killed me many times during my childhood, but amazingly, somehow, maybe E. coli heard that I was a badass honey badger. Or could it be God saved my life so one day I could come to Mississippi and meet him in person? As you can see, I'm standing in the middle of Mississippi before you to share his story. Einstein said, the insanities, the doing the same thing over and over again, but expect different results. Doing the same thing over and over and expect different results. I never heard of Einstein in the middle of rice paddies, nor have I ever heard of a light bulb that invented by Thomas Edison. I knew nothing about magical light that shines entire room at a click of a switch. But I knew one thing. I didn't have to be genius to figure out that nobody was coming to rescue me out of starvation anytime soon. Going to sleep hungry, wake up starving, day after day for so many times. Sooner or later, I figured it out, that I was seeing open vision in plain sight. I was seeing all you can eat white steamy rice. It's a buffet. And seeing myself go place where no 5-year-old ever gone before. In 1962, in spring, I decided I had to do something about that. 9 o'clock sun was shining over our rice paddy. It was our day to plant rice. All the neighbors showed up to help us because we couldn't afford paid laborers. And to our surprise, our father, drunken and alcoholic, forgot to come home again to help. And they were looking at my heavily pregnant mother to fill in his shoes. Time came for this honey badger to step up to the plate. And I told everybody, I can do it. And I told my mother, who was already in tears, Mama, go home, I got this. I began planting rice next to grown people while being chased by slimy leeches, making touchdown on my skinny leg, one after another. I didn't dare to stop. Finally, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, our rice paddy was filled with the young promising rice. That's when I got to pull those slimy leeches off my leg. Then there's one left, the jumbo size, as big as my pinky finger. I couldn't pull it off. It needed a special touch by precision from machete. So I sliced this suction off my leg and it bleed. It didn't hurt me. There I was, holding bloody machete on my right hand, leech on my left. I just so happened to look 40 yards up to the road, and I'm seeing Mr. Dam Keeper, D-A-M. He's from outer city came to control our rice, the water gate. His hair nicely combed, in Western clothes, with real shoes, riding bicycle toward his beautiful home with the real windows. And he's looking straight down at me and shouted at me. And he said, look at me, you poor starving girl. I made my childhood dreams come true. What about you? Was I the only crazy person who heard these unspoken challenges that day? I do not know. Could it be God whispering in my starving ears in His Holy Spirit? I do not know that either. I knew nothing about Holy Spirit or God's mighty power. But growing up starving, I was never short of trash talking. I had to throw something back at this man who challenged me. And this is what I said. Mr. Dam Keeper, one day, I'm going to own your life even if you kill me. Now, having said that, I had to figure out about his secret for success. So I dropped my bloody machete and jumbo leech on the side, and I ran faster than Usain Bolt to my muddy home to ask my burning question, Mama, how did that dam keeper find this job? And she said to my starving ears, he went to high school in the city to get that job. So that was my aha moment. Never heard of a high school word in my life. Never knew any children went to school. But I knew that's where I needed to be, to steal dam keeper's life. I wanted that white steamy rice 3 times a day, like he does. So what do you do when you were 5 years old? I began begging, crying every single day. And first my mama said, girls don't go to school. It didn't work. Then she says, you have to be 8 years old, or at least 7. It didn't work either. I continued my begging. Then she finally, my relentlessness won her doubt. And or could it be God is telling her, desperate years like this one, send your crazy daughters to school. Maybe she'll come back and buy you a pretty house with a real window. Or maybe she'll send you a whole bunch of cash money from Mississippi so you can make all your friends super jealous. I'm not sure, but how God managed to find her, because she was a Buddhist. She's been praying to Buddha all her life. Nevertheless, 6 days after I turned 6 years old, my mama walked me 10 miles to register me to high school. March 1st, Friday, 1963, I walked into this classroom. One classroom has 83 kids. I walked in like a full Honey Badger style. My dark hair tangled up like a Medusa. Dirty as, I hadn't bathed for a whole year. Lice crawling all over, upside down and sideways. Teeth has never been brushed. I was the ugliest and the youngest girl ever walked into Pugil Elementary School that day. But I was shameless. 83 kids were laughing at my ugliness, unkempt Medusa hairstyle. I shouted back at them, "I'm here to stay. I ain't going anywhere. Besides, I had a big fat dream to chase, and you don't." I never did make good grades in school. I never was a smart kid. I just full of dreams. That's about all I was. But I did walk 10 miles a day, Monday to Saturday, to study. But I could use some homework, help from my home, but no one could help me. My bone-tired mama with a fifth grade education could not help. For punishment for not turning in homework, I was getting beaten at least once a week with a homemade stick made of a tree branch in front of 83 kids. It didn't bother me. I just accepted it as an extra class activity. And my mama would notice occasionally the bruises on my calf. And I lied to her and said, "Mama, it didn't hurt me one bit." Fast forward 8 years, 1973, I was 16 years old. I didn't just break one taboo, but I broke every one of the taboo books in history of Korea. I lost my virginity. I got pregnant. I had an abortion. And I got kicked out of my beloved high school. Talking about my coffin, I'm watching me being buried in 6 feet under. My big fat dream to be somebody just went out to the sea and swept away. Nobody, no Koreans, including ancestors and my family, could care less what happens to me next. They were so ashamed of me. I cried days and days. I got that I could never marry a man again because I ruined myself. But just the thought of I could never finish high school broke my heart. My heart was broken in 51 million pieces. Never get to marry a guy is okay, but I just couldn't let go of not able to go to high school. And I had to do something about that. Hold on. So I had 2 options. Option A, drink rat poison to die. And option B was run away, go anywhere, just disappear for life, live as a subhuman and never come back. Those were my 2 choices. I picked plan B. I decided to live but run away. There is no way I could pick plan A, to just die, to satisfy Korean culture. It seems so unfair to me. I just want to make it right. Just one more chance I needed, and I was not given that. So if there was a Korean Culture Association had a text message, I would love to text this exactly like this. I'm only 16 years old. I deserve a second chance. It's not over until Fat Lady sings. After my abortion scar was healed, I ran away to Osan Air Force Base, a GI town where GIs were looking for sex. Considering this is in the 70s, to get a visa to America from South Korea at that time was like winning a lottery. Poor people like me, I would have to sell a soul virtually to get to America. I walked into Lion's Den, which I call brothel, shaved head, fully ready and willing to eat my words I said to dam keeper when I was 5 years old. Some of you might remember. I walked into Lion's Den, which I call brothel, shaved head, fully ready and willing to eat my words I said to dam keeper when I was 5 years old. Some of you might remember. I walked into Lion's Den, which I call brothel, shaved head, fully ready and willing to eat my words I said to dam keeper when I was 5 years old. Mr. Damekeeper, one day I'm going to own your life, whether you killed me. That one. I sold sex for $20. I was already 17. Time was running out. American high school was calling my name to hurry up before it's too late to go to high school. I was totally focused. Stay away from drug, alcohol, and gambling. And when I wasn't selling sex, I was counting days to America while memorizing English words out of dictionaries. Ladies and gentlemen, October 16th, 1975, I found my chance. I was on the plane to 미국, we call 미국, America, with $40 in my pocket. I could hardly contain myself. I kept pinching myself while I'm holding my heart from jumping out of me. I couldn't believe it. This former prostitute was about to be a high school girl again. Very next day, October 17th, 1975, 8:00 a.m., I was sitting in 11th grader's classroom without understanding basic English. And I was so proud of my second chance. Fast forward 10 years later, living widely, 7,000 miles from home, looking for a place that I could call home. Someone brought me to this Bible Belt, Mississippi. I was dead broke, single mom, 2 weeks from eviction. I had no car. I started street peddling out of a grocery cart on the corner of a grocery store, flea market, door-to-door sale in borrowed car. Save every penny I made, working 7 days a week, 365 days a year, to build multi-million-dollar retail operation and operate it for next 20 years as a single mom. After all that, I finally got to have a beautiful house with the real windows, and I got to eat plenty of white rice. And yes, I did send plenty of cash money to my mama so she could make all her friends super jealous. But there's something missing in my life. What was it? Because I was still hungry. It wasn't rice. It wasn't beautiful home. There was something else. On the finest day of my life, I walked into Pine Lake Church in Brandon, Mississippi. I had a chance to meet God face to face. And I tried to tell God my honey badger days, all the broken places that I've been to. And God said, shh, I knew you before you were ever born. I knew you were coming to Mississippi to find me. And by the way, that was me. I was whispering in your ears in the middle of rice paddies when you were 5 years old. I cried some more. So I'm here. I'm very humbled to be speaking in front of you of my story. And this is my story. And thank you for hearing me.